I'm the punk, jerk, and loser everyone talks about. Not only did I successfully steal the female lead away, I even forced that devoted male lead to leave the country. I still vaguely remember the day Makoto left. Looking utterly shattered, he said, "Sophia, I'm letting go. Go chase your own happiness." But what Makoto never could have imagined was, the moment he boarded that plane, Sophia threw herself into my arms instead. She said, "Husband, we can finally be together." I thought once the male lead was gone, I could finally rest easy, but I never expected that 3 years after our engagement, the male lead came back, and that very night, my fiancée, the female lead, never came home. So I sent a message to the contact saved as 36D Peach Ass, my place, come over. Chapter 1. 3 seconds later, the reply popped up. "How many times has it been already, George? You always call me whenever you get drunk. I'm your ex-girlfriend, not your emotional punching bag." I tapped into my pinned chat with Sophia. Her last message from an hour ago read, "My bestie just got dumped. I'm staying with her tonight, so I won't be coming home." Couldn't she at least make up a more believable lie? I knew exactly who she went to see. Her ex-boyfriend, my rich second-generation college roommate, who had just returned to the country today. I tossed my phone onto the sofa and collapsed backward, staring at the ceiling. 10 minutes later, the doorbell rang. The moment I opened the door, Willow's pretty face came into view. She pouted dramatically, practically rolling her eyes to the heavens, her gaze full of annoyance and resentment. With a cold snort, she said, "Why don't you ask your fiancé to keep you company?" Willow stood stiffly at the doorway like a wildcat waiting to be coaxed. I laughed, wrapped an arm around her waist, and pulled her inside. Then I shut her up with a kiss before she could say another word. The fists pounding against my chest gradually slid up around my neck. From resistance to surrender, I pinned her against the entryway wall and kissed her hard and fast. When the kiss finally ended, she leaned weakly against my chest, breathing heavily. I tapped the tip of her nose and said casually, "She's not coming back tonight." Makoto's back. The woman in my arms suddenly stiffened. Oh, I almost forgot. There was another man hidden in her heart too. Classic cheating girl setup. Willow lifted her eyes and asked, "So, are you breaking up with her or not?" Her arms circled around my neck, her voice seductive and tempting. "After all, we broke up back then because of the men she loved." "I'm not." I shook my head with blunt cruelty and said, "She's someone I worked very hard to win over." Willow fell silent for a few seconds. Then she suddenly laughed softly. There was lust in her eyes, mixed with teasing and pity. "George, how come I never realized before that you're this patient? You're like a turtle hiding inside its shell." I said nothing. What did she know? Once you steal something away from someone else, why would you ever return it? Even if it was never truly mine to begin with. Chapter 2. My name is George. Whenever people in our circle talk about me, the descriptions are always the same. Punk, jerk, shameless bastard. I never argue with it. After all, I really did betray my so-called brother by stealing his girlfriend, Sophia, the campus queen of C University. Cold, elegant, untouchable, she barely looked anyone in the eye. The moment I first saw her, I fell for her. So I went through all kinds of trouble to get her contact information and started chasing her. But maybe my emotional intelligence was just too low. When she said her phone was broken, I failed to show the proper reaction she expected from me. After that, she barely bothered replying to me. Then she immediately posted a status update. I'm gradually becoming a very materialistic girl. Whenever a guy approaches me, if he can't provide any practical value, I instantly feel like he's useless to me. I don't even want to reply to him, honestly. Every extra word he sends just feels like a waste of my time. Makoto commented underneath, "That's not materialistic. That's called waking up. I'm a guy myself, and I can't stand cheap men either." Clearly, he knew exactly how to play the game. Soon after, he made a huge spectacle out of winning over Sophia, that unattainable ice queen everyone admired. If this world were one giant female lead novel, then Makoto would be the devoted rich heir whose entire purpose was to support the powerful heroine, and I was simply proof of the female lead's charm. People would say, "See that guy? He chased the campus beauty, and she didn't even spare him a glance." Another girl chimed in, "Haha, girls aren't obligated to be nice to broke men. Every stingy guy deserves to get roasted by me, including my dad." Sigh, forget it. My love story didn't even make it to the starting line before it died. Meanwhile, my roommate Makoto was genuinely generous to Sophia. His monthly allowance of 300,000 yuan. He transferred all of it to Sophia, every single month, with the note, voluntary gift, luxury handbags, expensive cosmetics. He spoiled her endlessly. Sophia visibly became more refined and glamorous. Back in the dorm, Makoto spoke to me with the tone of someone experienced in life. Whether it's marriage or dating, if men don't spend money, then who will? That's reality, brother. Normal social rules and common sense all tell you the same thing. You've gotta spend money. If you won't spend on women, what kind of relationship are you even talking about? Maybe in other people's eyes, I should have been grateful for his heartfelt advice, but perhaps I just hated the rich, because every word he said completely shattered this punk's pride. That was the first crushing defeat of my life, after all. When had I ever suffered humiliation like this before? So while the rest of our roommates were congratulating Makoto, all I felt was frustration and torment. I went to wash my face and stared at myself in the mirror. Damn, still handsome though, bro, I believe in you. A punk, huh? The script of a vicious male supporting role, huh? Then I'll only do one thing. Steal Sophia away. Chapter 3. Makoto treated me like a brother. Whenever he took his girlfriend out to eat, he invited me along too. I had no idea what he was thinking. Was something wrong with his brain? Or was he trying to teach me another lesson in person? Or maybe, he simply saw me as a loser and wanted to disgust me on purpose. I cynically guessed at his intentions in the darkest way possible. Makoto invited me to third wheel their date, and not only did I not refuse, I even dressed myself up carefully. I changed into the trendiest designer outfit I owned and sprayed enough hair gel to bankrupt a small store. In short, I looked damn impressive, but the moment I arrived, I froze. It was a hot pot restaurant. Makoto smiled and introduced me to Sophia. This is George, my best bro. We're roommates. You two should get to know each other. Only then did Sophia realize who I was. She paused for a second. I grinned and greeted her casually. Pleasure meeting you, Sophia. She pursed her lips and nodded slightly as a response. The steam from the boiling pot flattened my hairstyle, while the spicy peppers had me coughing nonstop. Makoto got up to use the restroom. I sat there hissing from the spice while gulping down water. Then my nose suddenly started running. The next second, bang. The loud sound startled me so badly the noodles slipped straight off my chopsticks. I looked up. Sophia was clutching a napkin in her hand, glaring at me like I was human trash. George, don't tell me that was an accident. I lowered my head. Only then did I realize there were 2 cups beside me. The one I had just drunk from still had lipstick marks on it. Damn, I grabbed the wrong cup. I immediately raised a hand and swore. That seriously was an accident. I've met plenty of disgusting men like you. Sophia bit her lip and snapped. You know exactly why you came here to see me. Prejudice in people's hearts was like a mountain, and her prejudice against me, an endless mountain range. Speechless, I replied. There you go, getting worked up again. I kept eating as I spoke. There's enough meat on this table to keep me busy already. Who has time to obsess over you? She choked on her words for a second. Her gaze swept quickly over me before landing on the cup I'd returned. Then she snorted softly. Who doesn't know you? You're the one who cares about face the least. Can't help it. I wiped my mouth and said as if it were only natural. When chasing a goddess, you have to learn not to care about face. Besides, what's the use of caring about face? You won't kiss me anyway. I raised my eyebrows at her without the slightest sense of shame. Her face visibly turned red, probably from anger. The next second, crash. A glass shattered onto the floor. I'm your friend's girlfriend. Are you insane? She bit her lip and forced the words out one by one. You're disgusting. What shattered wasn't just the glass. It was also my heart, and my sense of shame, because the way she looked at me, disgusted, furious, yet completely helpless, felt way too satisfying. I shrugged. You're right. I can be even more disgusting. I rubbed my nose, wiped my mouth, stood up, and grabbed the back of her head, pulling her forward. Then I kissed her. 1 second, 2 seconds. Her eyes widened in horror as she shoved me away, scrubbing her lips so hard it looked like she wanted to tear the skin off. Get away from me. She looked like she was about to throw up, dry heaving repeatedly. George, are you insane? Don't make me slap you. Relax, I said with a playful grin. Makoto's about to come back. You wouldn't want your boyfriend finding out about this, right? She glared at me furiously. Her face was as red as the hot pot broth. Makoto returned and asked worriedly, Sophia, why are your lips so red? Sophia immediately grabbed him and stormed out without another word. I sat back down and slowly finished the rest of the food by myself. After that day, Sophia went from ignoring me to utterly despising me. If we ran into each other in the hallway, she would take a detour. If there was a student council meeting and I showed up, she simply wouldn't come. The next time we crossed paths, she finally couldn't hold it in anymore. I never thought you'd be this shameless, I replied. Say it a few more times. It's kinda turning me on. I even leaned closer, trying to grab her hand. She instantly jumped backward several feet away, switching rapidly between disgust and shock, probably because after hitting someone, he ended up having his palm licked instead. When it came to me, he was truly out of options. Chapter 4. The first time I crossed paths with Sophia's social circle, Makoto brought me along. He said Sophia's friends wanted to meet him and check him out for her, so he asked me to come help him look good. I didn't refuse. As long as Sophia was there, I'd go. The moment the private room door opened, the noisy chatter paused for a second. Makoto and I walked in one after another. For some reason, he lagged half a step behind me as we entered. So naturally, every curious gaze landed squarely on me first. One girl reacted quickly and said, "Ah, it's George. Welcome, welcome. We finally get to meet you in person." I froze. The next second, Makoto walked in behind me with a polite yet slightly awkward smile on his face. I immediately stepped aside and waved toward him. "Makoto's right here." The main character always makes a grand entrance. Instantly, everyone's attention shifted. Sophia, who had been sitting on the sofa, also looked up. The moment she saw me, her brows knitted tightly together, until her gaze moved past me and landed on Makoto. She immediately stood up and threw herself into his arms like a little bird returning to its nest. "Makoto, what took you so long?" Holding onto his arm, Sophia introduced Makoto to her friends with a voice so gentle and affectionate it practically dripped sweetness. As for me, she didn't mention me with a single word. Makoto wrapped an arm around her shoulders, glowing with pride, looking as though he'd completely forgotten I even existed. I was left standing there awkwardly. "Handsome, are you Makoto's friend? Come drink with us." Someone handed me both a glass and a graceful way out of the situation. "Sure," I smiled, accepted the drink, and sat down, but my ears caught the hushed conversation coming from the sofa nearby. Sophia's voice carried unconcealed annoyance as she snapped softly, "Makoto, why did you bring him here too?" Makoto laughed. "My little bro still doesn't have a girlfriend. I figured your friends are all pretty cute, so maybe I could help introduce him to someone." "Humph." Sophia let out a cold snort, her tone filled with disdain. "My friends aren't running a recycling center. Who would ever want a broke loser like him?" When she said that, the corners of Makoto's lips subtly curled upward. Then Sophia's tone softened into a spoiled, coquettish whine. Holding onto Makoto's arm, she pouted and said, "Makoto, can't you stop hanging out with George? He seriously isn't a good person. The way he looks at me is always weird. Even just now." But Makoto defended me immediately. "Hey, my bro's not that kind of guy." Sophia didn't continue. She pressed her lips together, then suddenly lifted her head as though sensing something. I had been staring shamelessly at the two of them, listening in with great interest, and just like that, our eyes met. There was no panic from being caught. Instead, I calmly raised my glass and openly arched an eyebrow at her in provocation. She looked away in disgust. I withdrew my gaze and took a sip of alcohol. I never bothered hiding how rotten I was. Chapter 5. The group started playing Kings. At first, since everyone wasn't that familiar with each other yet, the game stayed relatively tame, until the girl sitting beside me suddenly screamed, "Ah, I got King." She scanned the room and blinked mischievously. How can a late-night game be fun without some excitement? I order number 3 and number 9 to use matching couple profile pictures for 3 days. Oh. Immediately, teasing whistles and suggestive laughter erupted around the room. I glanced at my card. Number 3. Number 3 right here, I announced, casually raising my poker card. Now which lucky person is destined to be my partner? The room fell into an awkward silence for several seconds. "I'm number 9. Sophia tossed down her card and spoke calmly. "Well then." Everyone exchanged awkward glances. The most uncomfortable situation possible had just happened. Makoto frowned slightly but said nothing. "I'll just take the punishment and drink instead," Sophia said softly, pressing her lips together. But Makoto laughed. "Hey, what's the big deal? It's just matching profile pictures. I'm not so petty that I can't handle something like that." "Makoto's so generous," someone immediately praised. Yet Sophia still shook her head stubbornly, insisting on taking the punishment herself. The next second, Makoto stopped her and drank 6 glasses in a row on her behalf. The crowd instantly exploded with cheers. Damn, Makoto's seriously the ultimate devoted boyfriend. Sophia's conflicted expression slowly melted into sweetness, and I just kept staring at her. When she rejected me, I wasn't sad. Instead, my brain filled with excitement. And now, I was even more excited when it was my turn again. Someone announced, "Number 7 and number 10, say which part of the other person is the sexiest." "I'm number 7. A sultry female voice rang out. I looked toward the source of the sound. In the corner of the sofa sat a stunning beauty with a gorgeous figure. I had noticed her long ago. Her looks were no less striking than Sophia's, but her aura was completely different. Like a panther that had just woken up, lazy, seductive, and dangerous all at once. Willow Lu. Only later did I learn she was the wealthy heiress of the Lu family, so I let my gaze drift slowly over her before smiling. This beautiful lady. There's not a single part of her that isn't sexy. She froze for a moment, then she stared directly into my eyes. After thinking for a few seconds, she finally said, His eyes, probably. Her eyes were faintly red. The atmosphere in the room subtly quieted. I understood instantly. There was a grave in her heart, where someone she could never forget was buried. And through my eyes, she had seen another man. Our gazes locked. I sighed dramatically and said in a regretful tone, "TSK, a beautiful woman stared at me for that long. I almost thought you'd fallen for me." She snapped back to reality. Her eyes refocused on my face, now carrying a completely different emotion. Chapter 6. I stepped outside the private room to get some air. A girl with heavy makeup, probably not even 20 yet, suddenly walked up to me and said, "Hey handsome, buy me a drink. Let's call it getting to know each other." I was speechless. Wasn't that way too forward? She wanted me to pay for a drink, yet somehow acted like she was doing me a favor. I replied, "No money. Buy it yourself if you want one." She rolled her eyes dramatically, her tone full of contempt. "It's only a few dozen bucks and you can't even spare that. You're seriously cheap." I frowned, then nodded thoughtfully. "You're right. I'm way too stingy. Definitely not as generous as someone like you, who can't even afford a few dozen bucks without asking somebody else to pay." She let out a cold laugh. Hilarious. A grown man pinching pennies over pocket change. "One of my bags costs over 10 grand. Bet your whole world would collapse if you had to buy one." I laughed too, then I slowly looked her up and down before sneering. "Honestly, with looks like yours, forget a few dozen bucks. If you touched even one slice of fruit in my VIP room platter, I'd probably call the police." Her face twisted in rage. She immediately raised her hand to slap me, but before her hand could land, I grabbed her wrist midair. My tone turned cold. "Try hitting me again. I'm not the type to tolerate it." At that moment, a sultry voice sounded behind me. "George, what are you doing over here?" Willow had appeared behind me without me noticing. The girl immediately found a new target to vent at. She yanked her hand free and stepped back. "Girl, this cheap loser is your boyfriend. He's a disgusting broke simp. I've seriously never met a man with less class in my life. I'm telling you, he was even trying to hit a woman just now. Your taste in men is terrible. You're this pretty, so why are you digging through trash cans looking for guys?" Willow blinked and looked at me. Her gaze carried a deeper meaning. Clearly, she had witnessed my extremely ungentlemanly behavior. I was lying. I'm not that much of a gentleman. I raised an eyebrow and simply stopped pretending. I opened straight away with a battle cry. "Aha! My people, who understands this? I'm crying so hard." "Sister, you're still the one who gets me. I'm a stingy man, a domestic abuser man, a loser, a disgusting man, an empty promises man, a scumbag. And not only do I refuse to spend a single cent, I'm also going to live off a woman," I said with a cheerful smile on my face. "Not spending money on you means I have no manners and makes me a stingy man. Then you're not stingy, right? Transfer all your money to me." "Forget it. I wouldn't dare take your dirty money. I'm afraid I'd catch something." "You hate men, yet you still want to dig money out of men. Who knows what you actually do for a living?" Sigh. "Who told you to be so ugly? If your picture were posted on a website, it would have to go in the freak show section." The girl's brain visibly froze. Even Willow paused for a second. Then the girl finally processed what I'd said. Shrieking curses, she rushed toward me with her hand raised again. "You bastard! Who the hell are you calling ugly?" But the next second, bang! I kicked her straight to the floor. She immediately pointed at me and shouted at Willow. "Did you see that? This scumbag actually hits women." But I instantly stepped in front of Willow protectively. "Heh, that sly long-haired man actually disguised himself as a woman. Too bad I saw right through you." "Willow, don't be afraid. I'm here. He won't hurt you." The girl went completely speechless. Willow finally burst out laughing. "George, you're not even pretending anymore, are you?" Then she made a phone call. Less than 2 minutes later, someone arrived and dragged the girl away. The hallway returned to silence. Willow looked at me. There was curiosity in her eyes, interest, and something else. Then she said, "Want to add each other on WeChat?" Chapter 7. George, you useless piece of trash. Why do you think I worked so hard to put you through school and get you into such a good university? And you still haven't even managed to get close to the Jiang family. If I had a son as worthless as you, I'd jump off a building already. The moment I answered the phone, my mother started screaming insults from the other end. I replied immediately. "Then go jump." I counterattacked without hesitation. "If you're so capable, then how come you got kicked out by the Jiang family's legal wife back then and ended up marrying my honest stepfather? We were less like mother and son and more like mortal enemies." Every sentence we exchanged stabbed directly into the other person's wounds. When I was born, she tried to strangle me to death. It was my current father who stopped her and saved my life. Growing up, she either beat me or cursed at me. Most of the issues I have now were probably because of her. And ever since I became able to support myself financially, I stopped tolerating her completely. Eventually, I got tired of arguing. She got tired too. Her tone softened slightly as she said, "Listen to Mom. Beg if you have to. Act pitiful if you must. Just find a way to get familiar with your biological father first. If you won't think about your own future, at least think about your mother. A mother rises with her son. Your stepfather and I have suffered too much our whole lives." I brushed her off and hung up the phone. After that gathering, my contact with Willow became more and more frequent, as Sophia watched her friend gradually becoming obsessed with me. She frowned and warned her, "Someone like George, he's probably just playing around." Willow pressed her lips together lightly. "I know he's a playboy. I know he falls for every pretty girl he sees." Sophia stayed silent for a few seconds before asking, "Then why are you still?" Willow let out a soft laugh. "I'm just playing around too, you know that, Sophia. The only person in my heart is Martin. If it's not him, then dating anyone is basically the same. So I might as well date someone interesting, someone who can make me happy." Sophia's face filled with disgust. "Whatever. Just make sure he stops bothering me and Makoto. As a punk." Everything that was supposed to happen naturally happened too. Afterward, Willow leaned weakly against my chest and asked in a hoarse voice, "You like Sophia?" "I'm crazy about her," I answered honestly. She frowned unhappily. "Then why are you chasing me too? You're seriously such a scumbag. I love you the most." I kissed her once while my hands kept wandering lazily. Watching her gradually melt into my touch, I asked, "One more round?" Blushing deeply, she nodded shyly. "As a punk, I've always been lustful by nature." Willow had 30-60 curves, so naturally, I loved Willow the most. Perfectly logical. According to the script, she should have eventually woken up, started hating me, and stopped treating me like a substitute for the men she loved. But after that night, it was like she became addicted, each time more insatiable than the last. 3 months passed, and we were still tangled up with each other constantly. Willow laughed sweetly and said, "He's seriously too intense. I can barely handle him anymore. Sometimes it feels like I'm actually going to die in bed." One day, after returning home, I overheard Willow talking to Sophia on the phone. Their conversation was wildly open. She let out a soft snort and said, "Forget it. You wouldn't understand even if I explained. I'm hanging up soon anyway. He'll be back in a minute." After a pause, she answered the person on the other end, "I don't feel like dumping him yet. Isn't this perfect? This way he can't go bother you and Makoto anymore." I quietly stepped back outside, then deliberately reopened the door and walked in again. Starting in my sophomore year, I began acting in low-budget web dramas. I always played vicious villains. When I asked the director how I should act, the director simply told me to tone it down a little. Willow had dug up every terrible drama I'd ever filmed. Every Friday night, she treated them like a weekly comedy show, roasting my acting non-stop while watching. On the screen, I was playing an overbearing CEO, slapping people left and right. Even my expression while slapping people carried 30% cold indifference, 30% mocking amusement, and 40% casual arrogance. Willow laughed so hard she collapsed into the sofa, her shoulders shaking uncontrollably. I asked, "Is it really that funny?" Wrapping an arm around her neck, I pulled her fully into my lap while tickling her waist with one hand and squeezing her cheeks together with the other. Laughing until tears formed in her eyes, she mumbled through her squished lips, "Husband, I was wrong." "Okay." My gaze darkened slightly. That same look appeared in my eyes. 30% cold indifference, 30% mocking amusement, and 40% casual arrogance. Then I said, "If you're wrong, then you deserve punishment." Pinning both of her wrists down, I pressed her against the sofa. Chapter 8. The next time I saw Sophia and Makoto was on a yacht. Without me acting as the catalyst between them, their relationship seemed to have entered a dull phase. Makoto had an arm around Sophia, but her expression stayed indifferent, showing little enthusiasm. When they noticed me, I lowered my sunglasses slightly and greeted them casually. Sophia's gaze swept over me, paused for a second, then she hurriedly looked away. Instead, Makoto was the one who approached me first. "George, I heard you and Willow are dating now." My right eyelid had been twitching all day. Bad luck was definitely coming. I had no interest in making small talk with him, so I brushed him off with a few careless replies and turned to leave. But the next second, a splash suddenly sounded behind me. Then someone shouted, "Help! Someone fell overboard." I turned around. Makoto was already thrashing around in the sea. A safety crew member jumped down and pulled him back up. Standing there drenched and disheveled, Makoto pointed at me with a look of heartbreak and outrage. "George, I treated you like my brother. Why would you try to hurt me?" Sophia looked at me in complete shock. What the hell? I was stunned. What kind of ridiculous plot was this? Such a childish setup. Such an embarrassingly fake frame-up. Who the hell openly tries to murder someone in broad daylight over a woman? And wasn't he supposed to be the male lead? Why was he stealing the evil male supporting role's script from me? before I could react. Sophia suddenly walked up to me and glared furiously. I frowned in confusion. What are you? Slap. The next second, her palm struck my face hard. The sound echoed sharply. She shouted, "George, you shameless bastard." I exploded immediately. I fucking didn't push him. Whoever did it can lose 10 centimeters off their dick. Not far away. Makoto visibly flinched. Chapter 9. But Sophia completely ignored my explanation. She raised her right hand and tried to slap me again. This time, I reacted fast enough and grabbed her wrist immediately, but she refused to let it go, lifting her left hand to hit me again. Like hell I was going to tolerate that. Grinding my teeth, I snapped. "You done yet?" The next second, I lifted her straight off the ground and carried her toward the edge of the yacht. Sophia couldn't swim. The moment she realized I might throw her into the ocean, she instantly stopped struggling and clung to me like an octopus. "George," Makoto shouted furiously, "you bastard. Let her go right now." Sophia was wearing a bikini, and I wasn't wearing a shirt. With our skin pressed tightly together during the struggle, there was inevitably more physical contact than necessary. Suddenly, Sophia let out a shaky, uneven breath. "What the hell is all this noise? People can't even sleep." Willow walked out from the cabin, still barefaced and half asleep. The moment I saw her, I immediately let go of Sophia and hurried over to Willow. From the corner of my eye, I caught Sophia stumbling slightly. Momentarily stunned, I instantly switched into victim mode. "I'm innocent, babe. You know me, I'm naturally peace-loving. Other than when I'm taking my clothes off. When have I ever done something this violent? Aren't they obviously bullying an honest man here?" After hearing what happened, Willow spoke firmly. "Sophia, George may have terrible character, but his acting is terrible too. There's no way he's pretending right now." Then she actually started citing evidence. "When George acts, his face is always stiff as a board. If he'd really done it, his performance wouldn't be this convincing." What the hell? Insult me all you want, but why attack my acting skills too? Makoto narrowed his eyes and said slowly, "Whether his acting is bad or not isn't the point. I can't swim. Why would I put myself in mortal danger?" "You son of a bitch." I exploded instantly. "I said I didn't push you, so I didn't push you. If I actually wanted to kill you, I've got plenty of ways to do it." Makoto sneered. "See, everyone heard that. He's threatening me. Threatening you." I laughed too. Then the next second, I charged at him like a cannonball and slammed straight into him. Both of us plunged into the sea. In the freezing water, I pinned Makoto down hard and forced him to swallow several mouthfuls of painfully salty seawater. This time, Makoto genuinely panicked. He struggled desperately. Only when he was about to run out of strength did I finally let go. Then I watched him swim back to shore himself, pale and shaken, pointing at him. I laughed. "Oh, so you can swim after all." Willow handed me a towel, both annoyed and amused. "Wow, George, couldn't you just treat it like you got bitten by a dog and leave it at that? Did you really have to go that hard?" I wiped my head messily and cursed. "Fuck that. Not only am I going to bite back, I'm going to bite twice." Makoto walked toward Sophia and opened his arms, trying to pull her naturally into his embrace, but Sophia silently stepped away from him. He froze for a moment before forcing an awkward smile. The night at the seaside villa was quiet. Willow clung tightly to me. Neither of us ever bothered keeping our voices down during moments like this. The rougher the waves outside became, the louder her moans grew, and every time that happened, I became wildly excited like I was high on drugs. The wooden walls had terrible soundproofing. Just one wall away, Sophia couldn't sleep. She had always told Makoto she was traditional. She wanted to save herself for their wedding night, so they had always slept in separate rooms. The ambiguous sounds drifting through the walls felt like someone breathing directly beside her ear. Was doing that kind of thing really that pleasurable? She shut her eyes tightly, forcing herself to empty her thoughts. But the human brain loved rebellion. The more you tried not to think about something, the clearer it became. The feeling of our bodies pressed together earlier that day, my wandering hands, the thrill born from fear, and Willow's words, "He's seriously too intense." Sometimes it feels like I'm actually going to die in bed. Sophia bit down hard on her lower lip and irritably rolled over. She kept telling herself this was only a normal physical reaction. Absolutely not, because hearing our voices had turned her on. Chapter 10. Willow invited me to a banquet, but the moment we arrived, she got dragged away by her girlfriends and disappeared in the blink of an eye. I stood in the corner holding a glass of champagne, bored out of my mind as I watched the elegantly dressed crowd mingling around me. Then I spotted two familiar faces. Sophia and Makoto were here too. Even though they had entered together, the atmosphere between them felt strangely off. Makoto stayed by Sophia's side the entire time, fetching drinks for her, bringing her desserts, constantly wearing a flattering smile on his face. But from beginning to end, Sophia remained cold and indifferent. as though even sparing him an extra glance annoyed her. The whole scene looked exactly like a dog desperately wagging its tail yet never managing to earn its owner's affection. Honestly, sometimes I genuinely couldn't understand it. Makoto was a rich heir. Why was he always so humble in front of Sophia? As I passed by the balcony, I heard arguing inside. I only caught part of it. Makoto complained. Why not? You're obviously my girlfriend. Why do you always keep avoiding it? I've spent so much money on you. But Sophia interrupted him sharply. I told you from the very beginning that it wasn't happening. So because you spent money on me, I have to agree. Makoto, what kind of person do you think I am? Do you think you're suffering some kind of loss here? If you think you lost out, then I can pay you back. Do you seriously think you're the only one investing emotionally in this relationship? Her voice choked slightly with emotion. Makoto instantly lost all momentum. He even looked guilty as his tone softened. Sophia, that's not what I meant. Footsteps approached. Before I could avoid them, Sophia walked out from the balcony and ran straight into me. Her eyes were red. As she passed me, she paused slightly. Makoto hurried out right after her, panic written all over his face. The moment he saw me, he stopped and stared viciously. George, you must feel pretty smug right now. Huh? I seriously don't understand it. Why do women always get fooled by useless scumbags like you? Meanwhile, people like me, who genuinely want a serious relationship, end up with nothing. Grinding his teeth, he said, sometimes I really should learn from trash like you. Maybe I'd be happier if I stopped caring about shame too. I couldn't even be bothered arguing with him. All right, enough. Rolling my eyes, I said impatiently, you and I already hate each other, so stop yapping at me. Keep annoying me and I'll slap the hell out of you. I deliberately raised my hand threateningly. Makoto visibly flinched before gritting his teeth and leaving. The lounge door nearby was locked. Seriously, who had such terrible manners? I knocked loudly. Hey, who's in there? I still left my stuff inside. The door opened. The next second, someone suddenly grabbed me and yanked me inside. It was Sophia. Her cheeks were flushed bright red. Her breathing was uneven and hurried, sweat covering her forehead. Something was obviously wrong with her. I raised an eyebrow. Well, isn't this Sophia, the famous campus goddess? What's with that expression? Out of pure instinct, I pulled out my phone and snapped several pictures immediately. Click, click, click. Multiple close-up angles. Sophia sluggishly tried to cover her face. Don't do that. No ulterior motive. I only took the photos to avoid getting falsely accused later. Still, seeing her like this, my dirty thoughts immediately surfaced. No, wait, my kindness surfaced. So I asked, are you thirsty? Chapter 11. I handed her half a bottle of water and even thoughtfully twisted the cap open for her. She took it and drank a few mouthfuls. Then she froze. Looking at me, she asked, why is it so hot? What did you put in the water? I blinked. What did I put in it? Then realization suddenly hit me. Oh, an aphrodisiac. I shrugged. Wasn't me. It was probably already in there. I had simply grabbed the bottle casually from a nearby table. Sophia stared at the familiar bottle in her hand. This was exactly what she had drunk earlier before her body started feeling strange. She collapsed weakly onto the floor, her eyes reddening. Why, you're so shameless, I replied calmly. First day knowing me. I turned on my camera and pointed it at her. Her pupils instantly contracted. George, I said. Hey, you've made quite a profit these past few years too, haven't you? Give me 10 million and I'll help you. I opened with a ridiculous price immediately. Biting her lip, she said. Is money really all you care about? I sighed dramatically before firing her own words back at her. You know, I'm gradually becoming a very materialistic man. Whenever a girl approaches me, if she can't provide me with any practical value, I instantly feel like she's useless to me and don't even want to talk to her. Sophia, if you can't even come up with 10 million, aren't you being kinda stingy? She bit her lip silently, clearly unable to respond. I crouched down in front of her and asked curiously, you really don't want to do anything with me? Something felt off. In novels, shouldn't people lose all rationality after being drugged? How was she still managing to stay this restrained? Sophia remained silent, so I asked, then should I leave? Her trembling voice immediately sounded out, then hurry up and get lost. I turned around cleanly without hesitation. 1 step, 2 steps, wait, a weak voice came from behind me. The corners of my lips had just started to rise when I heard her say hoarsely, call Willow for me. And don't tell Makoto. I sighed. Fine, I'll help you, but you owe me a favor now. You'll have to repay me someday. Oh, okay. Sophia nodded weakly. Perhaps because of the camera pointed at her, she had no choice but to agree. I sent Willow a message, right before leaving, though. I suddenly remembered something. Slap. I smacked Sophia across the face. Why you, ah. Her body trembled as a muffled sound escaped her lips, her eyes momentarily unfocused. I said, "You still owe me for that slap from last time. Remember this well, me, George, always collects my debts." After throwing those words down, I left without looking back. As I headed downstairs, I ran into Makoto, who looked frantic, as if searching for something, the moment our eyes met. A flash of guilt flickered across his face, and instantly, I understood. Of course, Sophia only ever lowered her guard around him, so that meant, had I accidentally ruined the male and female lead's big moment? Chapter 12. Because one of my web dramas unexpectedly became mildly popular, my agent dragged me to a drinking party. I thought it was going to be a business negotiation. Turns out, the executive sitting at the head of the table was treating me like a circus animal. He kept forcing me to drink, demanding I perform tricks, even telling me to crawl on the floor and squeal like a pig. So by the time Willow arrived, I was already holding Boss Song down and force-feeding him alcohol. Ha ha ha. Old man, drink up. Weren't you bragging about how well you could drink earlier? Amid the chaos, the door suddenly swung open. Cold wind rushed inside, making me shiver and sober up instantly. When I turned around, I saw Willow standing right there in the doorway. I immediately released the old man, whose face I had practically beaten into a pig's head, and hurried over to her with a grin. We were just messing around, Willow, nothing serious. But the moment I let go, Boss Song immediately started cursing again. George, who the hell do you think you are? Do you believe I? Then, clearly, he noticed Willow too. Lu. Miss Lu. The Lu family's reputation was legendary throughout the capital's elite circles, and Miss Lu was someone nobody could afford to offend. Seeing Willow walk toward him with dark fury in her eyes, Boss Song visibly panicked. It's a misunderstanding. Really, just a misunderstanding. But Willow merely stared at him coldly and said word by word, "You're not sorry because you know you were wrong. You're sorry because you realized you kicked a steel plate." Then she lifted her high heel and stomped down viciously. Aya! A horrifying scream echoed through the room. Boss Song rolled his eyes back and fainted on the spot. Damn, even I felt pain just watching that. Willow turned to look at me again and sighed. You really treat everyone equally, huh? You refuse to tolerate anyone, but what if he tries to get revenge on you later? I grinned shamelessly, with my wife backing me up. What am I afraid of? She shot me a sideways glance and snorted. What if we break up someday? When you cause trouble again, who's going to clean up your messes for you then? I thought about it seriously for a moment. Then, cautiously, I asked, then, after we break up, can you introduce me to another rich girlfriend? Willow froze. Then she immediately started smacking me angrily. George, you heartless bastard. You're already thinking about your next girlfriend. I answered with complete seriousness. This is called planning ahead. She rolled her eyes dramatically. Wow, you really are a complete scumbag. Can't you say something romantic for once? Chapter 13. That weekend, Willow invited Sophia to play tennis. When Sophia arrived, she was wearing a white camisole paired with an ultra-short pleated skirt. It was the first time I had ever seen her dressed so lightly. What surprised me even more was that Makoto actually wasn't there this time. After playing for a while, I got tired and went outside to buy drinks. By the time I came back, they had just finished a round. I immediately handed over the milk tea thoughtfully. Willow took it, stood on tiptoe, and kissed me lightly. Thanks, husband, I smiled. But at that exact moment, I felt someone's gaze land on my back. I glanced around instinctively, yet couldn't find anyone. The second round began. Sophia's attacks were ferocious. Smashes, volleys, sudden angle changes. Every shot was fast and ruthless, like she wanted to smash the tennis ball directly into Willow. Willow eventually got irritated too. Sophia, what's your problem? Did I offend you or something? The two of them became competitive, both determined to win no matter what. When Willow landed a beautiful backhand return, I immediately praised her. Nice shot. Sophia's hand trembled slightly. The ball flew out of bounds. Willow won the crucial point. I clapped enthusiastically, then caught Willow as she ran toward me, lifting her into my arms and spinning her around with a laugh. From the corner of my eye, I noticed Sophia standing alone by the net. Her expression looked slightly cold. During the break, I went to grab some water. When I turned around, Sophia was suddenly standing behind me. The neckline of her white camisole somehow looked even lower now. Sunlight fell across the side of her face, making her look unreal. Then she asked, "Do you know about Martin?" "Who?" "Willow's childhood sweetheart." She stared directly at me, speaking slowly and clearly. "That man left the country years ago. Willow waited for him for a very long time." I merely responded with an indifferent "oh." She frowned slightly. "You really like her that much?" I didn't answer. Then she spoke again. her tone carrying a strange trace of coldness. "George, your so-called love really isn't worth much after all." Then she turned and walked away. Chapter 14. A prophecy fulfilled itself. Willow's true love was coming back. She started becoming absent-minded, constantly glued to her phone. Every night, she would sit there spacing out for long periods of time. Silently, I began counting down the days until she left me, but when that day finally arrived, I still felt a little regretful. I had worked so damn hard. Yet I still couldn't replace that man's place in her heart. Just what kind of godlike man was he? Before this, there had even been a tiny moment when I foolishly thought she might actually have feelings for me too. Sigh. I had almost believed I could marry a rich beauty and reach the peak of life. Damn, this punk's pride got shattered again. The day Martin returned to the country, Willow skipped our date. Her reason was simple and brutally straightforward. Over the phone, she said calmly, "Martin's back. I don't want him finding out about us." The moment I heard that, I instantly switched into devoted simp mode. Rule number 1 of being a simp: even after getting cheated on emotionally, you still beg them to stay. So I choked out dramatically, "Willow, you can't do this to me. Without you, I'll literally die." "Okay," she replied calmly, "then I'll collect your corpse after I get back." And then she hung up. I stared speechlessly at the darkened phone screen for several seconds. Willow cut things off with me completely cleanly, but also very generously. Looking at the extra 10 million deposited into my bank account, I suddenly felt a little lost. So I called Sophia. The call connected instantly. I got straight to the point: break up with Makoto and be my girlfriend. After thinking for a moment, I let out a strange laugh and added, "Besides, I still have those intimate photos of us together. You wouldn't want." "Okay, I'll come find you right now," Sophia answered almost immediately. Now it was my turn to be surprised. At the restaurant, I kept secretly sizing her up. Sophia lowered her eyes the entire time, absent-mindedly poking at the food in her bowl, clearly lost in thought. After holding it in for a long time, she finally couldn't help asking, do we actually have any intimate photos together?" I waved my hand casually. "Oh, we took a handshake photo together during a student council event." Sophia fell silent. Then I asked again, "You're really going to date me?" She didn't answer. Originally, my plan had been simple: ask for something outrageous first. After she rejected it, I'd ask for something less unreasonable, a classic foot-in-the-door tactic. But somehow, she had agreed to the first request immediately. Was there seriously such a good thing in this world? I straightened up and said confidently, "You promised you owed me a favor. You can't take it back now." She nodded softly. "I remember." Then she added, "I already broke up with Makoto." For a moment, my emotions became strangely complicated. I had actually succeeded. I successfully tore apart the male and female leads, successfully stole the female lead away. The obsession I had carried for years had finally been fulfilled. Yet there wasn't much joy. Maybe because this relationship was built on coercion. All I felt was exhaustion, and somewhere deep inside, the pain of getting dumped by Willow still lingered. For the first time, I understood exactly how Sophia must have felt. She had to be hurting badly too. She probably hated me. Suddenly, I found myself unable to look directly at Sophia anymore. Chapter 15. What was interesting was that Sophia took dating me very seriously, completely differently from when she had dated Makoto. Not only had she never once asked me for money, she even cooked 3 meals for me every day in different ways, cleaned the house, and, even in bed, she had an incredible spirit of service. And for some reason, I felt like she had a bit of an M streak. She was especially obsessed with my slaps. Could it be that the slap from last time had corrupted her? She was even more insatiable than Willow. It was as if, once she had gotten a taste of it, once she had been awakened. I accompanied Sophia to a banquet one evening. Only after arriving did I realize it was the exact same villa from before. That was when I learned the estate belonged to the Bai family. Willow had invited Sophia personally. Sophia told me that tonight was Willow and Martin's official engagement party. "You came too." The moment Willow saw me, a trace of vigilance and nervousness flashed through her eyes. I tugged at the corner of my lips. After not seeing her for so long, she somehow looked even more beautiful. Then again, she was finally getting engaged to the man she had been longing for all these years. Naturally, all the best things in life would end up with him. So this must be Mr. Wong. "I've heard a lot about you." A refined-looking man walked over to Willow's side and greeted us with a gentle smile. The moment I saw his eyes, I immediately understood. This man was Martin. After exchanging a few words, I had to admit it. Martin was far superior to me. Elegant in conversation, composed in demeanor. Just standing there made me feel inferior. And suddenly, I completely understood why Willow could never forget him. Some people, the moment you meet them, you instantly realize you could never compare. Throughout the banquet, Sophia stayed glued to my side the entire time. Honestly, she was clingier than usual. Because of Willow, many people at the banquet recognized Sophia. Seeing us together, they curiously asked what our relationship was. Sophia wrapped herself around my arm and covered her lips with a smile. He's my boyfriend. That public announcement came pretty suddenly. I smiled, about to respond, when suddenly, crash! The sound of shattering glass rang out nearby. I turned around. My eyes met Willow's. At her feet lay a shattered wine glass. Her expression ugly and tense. After coming out of the restroom, I was suddenly stopped by Willow. She spoke with difficulty. You and Sophia are together. I nodded casually. Yep. She even dumped Makoto for me. Why? Don't tell me now that your best friend's dating me. You suddenly regret leaving me. I had to admit, a small part of me felt weirdly satisfied right now. Letting out a cold laugh, I added, just letting you know in advance, I'm not buying into that, chasing your ex after dumping him, nonsense. Damn it. Why did she only regret things after seeing me with another woman? Didn't she understand that delayed affection was cheaper than grass? But Willow looked genuinely shocked. How could Sophia possibly agree to date you? Did you force her? Or did you do something to her? Damn. Turns out I was the clown all along. She simply thought I wasn't worthy of her best friend. Chapter 16. My silence was taken as tacit admission in her eyes. She screamed, George, how can you be so shameless? This is you jumping straight into another relationship. Do you know that? She grabbed onto my clothes stubbornly, demanding I explain everything clearly. I got annoyed. Without controlling my strength, I shoved her hard enough to make her stumble backward. She froze for a second, then reached out to grab me again. But Sophia stepped in front of her, frowning unhappily. Sophia said, you're literally about to get married, yet you're still pulling at my boyfriend in public. Aren't you afraid people will laugh at you if this gets out? Willow stared at her, eyes reddening. Then, slap. A loud slap landed across Sophia's face. Willow shouted sharply, I asked you to test him for me. I didn't ask you to test him all the way into bed. Sophia refused to back down and immediately started fighting with her. That's enough. I shouted loudly and forced myself between them. Frowning, I snapped. What are you two even doing? You think you're starring in some idol drama? Willow pointed at me, her hand trembling violently. Her voice shook too. What? So now you feel sorry for her? So in the end, I was the one who gave you the chance to fulfill your fantasy. Then she pointed at Sophia, her voice becoming even shakier. And you? Have you no shame at all? Weren't you the one who hated him the most? It's only been a few days and you're already sleeping with him. Are you even still my best friend? I immediately cut her off. Stop screaming at me like that. What exactly is your problem? Weren't you the one who dumped me first? You threw me away like trash, and now you're acting like some crazy woman yelling all over the place. Willow's lips moved slightly, as though she wanted to say something but stopped herself. Willow. Martin's voice sounded from nearby. Willow turned to glance at him, then looked back at me again. Taking a deep breath, she lowered her voice and said, George, I'll explain everything to you. Things aren't what you think. Then, without hesitation, she turned and walked toward Martin. I let out a cold laugh and raised my middle finger at her retreating back before leaving with Sophia. An explanation. Nobody cared. Later, Makoto came looking for me. He stood outside the door with dark circles under his eyes, looking like he hadn't slept properly in days. The moment he saw me, his whole body stiffened. His voice was hoarse as he said, I never thought it'd be you. It was actually you. I stayed silent. He clenched his teeth tightly, his eyes filled with hatred and unwillingness. George, you must feel so proud of yourself now. You won. She actually fell in love with a scumbag like you. Then I guess she was never that great after all. You think I, Makoto, lack women in my life? You're just picking up trash I threw away. What a perfect match, bitch and dog together forever. I looked at him and suddenly found the whole thing hilarious. So I said, bro, back then you sure loved acting like some wise mentor teaching me life lessons. So let me return the favor with one piece of advice. Simping only leads to losing everything. And honestly, if you enjoy being a simp, then fine, go ahead. But why did you always have to step on me while doing it? Remember all that crap you said? Even as a man, I can't stand stingy guys. What counts as stingy? If a girl spends money on me and I refuse to spend money on her, that's stingy. But if she doesn't spend money on me and I don't spend money on her either, that's not called stingy. What exactly were you pretending to be? You acted like you were helping introduce girls to me, but deep down you loved watching them humiliate me, didn't you? You looked down on me. You thought I was beneath you. So you deliberately let me get close to your girlfriend because you wanted to watch me embarrass myself and make you look even better by comparison. But now that I actually stole her away, why are you suddenly unhappy? The door opened. Sophia walked out from inside and quietly stood beside me. She looked at Makoto with a calm, cold expression and said, "Makoto, I already told you. I admit that I changed. I fell in love with George. This has nothing to do with him. I'm the one who wronged you." Then she let out a cold laugh and added, "Or what? Do you think dating me was a financial loss? Did you come here to demand your money back? People always say breakups reveal someone's true character. Well, today I've finally seen it for myself." Makoto stared at Sophia in disbelief. Then suddenly, tears fell from his eyes. His voice trembled as he choked out, "Sophia, how could you think of me like that?" Sophia rolled her eyes. "The fact that I'm not even pursuing the things you did is already me showing enough mercy." Makoto swayed slightly. All the color drained from his face instantly. He looked at her with unbearable sorrow in his eyes. Finally, he gave a miserable smile and said, "Sophia, I came here to tell you that I'm going abroad to study. It's me, Makoto, who's abandoning you." After saying that, he turned around and walked away decisively. My whole body shook. This guy was seriously hopeless, but according to the usual plotline. Even though Sophia looked completely indifferent right now, I understood this kind of story too well. A few years later, when Makoto returned from overseas successful and accomplished, probably bringing a cute new girlfriend back with him, Sophia would definitely regret everything, cry her eyes out, and kneel begging for forgiveness. And even worse, I'd probably become the sacrificial example used to prove how wrong she'd been. Thinking about it actually made me feel a little gleeful. So I mocked her openly. "Looks like your husband dumped you." She lifted her eyes toward me and snorted softly. "He's not my husband." Then she said, "You are." Sophia narrowed her eyes slightly. "So, husband, when exactly are you planning to marry me?" Well, shit. Chapter 17. Sophia and I got engaged. We met each other's parents. As for Willow, the next time I heard news about her, she had already broken off her engagement with Martin, and Martin had left the country once again. At first, Sophia constantly pressured me about marriage. She was desperate to marry me as soon as possible. During the first year, I came up with every excuse possible to avoid it. During the second year, I kept dodging the topic vaguely. By the third year, I cheated. I cheated with Willow. Over the past few years, my short drama career had exploded in popularity. I went from being an actor to becoming one of the investors behind the scenes. Several projects I invested in became massive hits. Outside, people now respectfully addressed me as President Wong. I ran into Willow at a banquet. She had become even more beautiful, more mature too. While chatting with her friends, her gaze kept drifting toward me repeatedly. Finally, I couldn't help asking, "Why do you keep looking at me?" With a half smile, she replied, "If you weren't looking at me too, how would you know I was staring?" We both drank that night. I offered to take her home, and somehow, I ended up taking her to bed instead. The next morning, I woke up to find her lying in my arms, staring at me without blinking. I laughed awkwardly. "Haha, so what exactly does this count as?" "Completely composed," she replied. "It counts as cheating." I immediately cursed. "Fuck, why didn't you say that earlier?" After that, Willow threatened me. If I dared marry Sophia, she would expose our affair. So during the third year, I became even more afraid of officially marrying Sophia. The only difference was, that time, after I found another excuse to delay things, Sophia stayed silent for a very long time. For a brief moment, it looked like tears flashed through her eyes. I honestly wondered if I had imagined it. And now, this year, Makoto was finally returning to the country. To be honest, I felt relieved. Chapter 18. My thoughts snapped back to reality. I grabbed Willow's hand and laughed softly. "There's someone you can't forget too, isn't there?" She lifted her eyes to look at me and said word by word, "There isn't any more." Her expression was serious as she confessed honestly to me. "Ever since I got together with you, I realized what I felt for Martin wasn't love. Maybe admiration, maybe affection, mostly obsession. I let it go a long time ago. I never loved him. George, the only person I love is you." She explained everything to me. The Liu family needed a political marriage alliance. They would never agree to let her marry me. As for Martin, she didn't like him before, and she still didn't like him now. She didn't want a business marriage. She wanted to pursue her own dreams. So the two of them had reached an agreement immediately. A fake engagement. Once she became truly independent and could decide her own marriage for herself, she planned to come back for me. I stared at her blankly before saying speechlessly, "Then why the hell didn't you tell me?" "What? Did you lose your ability to speak? Or were you playing that dumb silent sacrifice drama trope?" She rolled her eyes. "With your acting skills, telling you would have been no different from telling everyone else directly." Fair enough. Another day of getting roasted for my acting. Rubbing my chin thoughtfully, I asked, "No, seriously, what made you think I'd wait for you? After all, the moment I got dumped, I immediately found myself a new girlfriend. Willow's eyes instantly turned red. A trace of hatred flashed through them. She told me that at the beginning, she had asked Sophia to test me for her while secretly keeping an eye on me too. She had trusted Sophia completely. After all, Sophia constantly told her to break up with me, badmouthed me endlessly, and always acted like she despised me. So Willow assumed I had forced myself onto Sophia because I still refused to give up. She had never imagined her own best friend would betray her. Even less had she imagined that Sophia had already fallen for me long ago. She had personally handed her rival an opportunity. Biting her lip, Willow cursed angrily. That shameless slut. She acted all traditional and innocent, then turned around and seduced you. Letting out a cold snort, Willow continued. George, break up with her. We can go back to how things were before. Did she forget that I was the one who flirted with Sophia first? That still doesn't change the fact that she's fickle. Willow looked utterly disdainful as she ruthlessly trashed her former best friend. A woman like her has no moral boundaries at all. If she cheated once, she'll cheat again sooner or later. I'm different. From beginning to end, you're the only person I've ever loved. Before I could answer, the sound of movement came from the entrance. The door opened. Sophia walked inside wearing the beige coat I had bought for her. Her gaze swept across Willow's face before landing on me. The air froze for 3 full seconds. Wait, why the hell was she home so early? Wasn't she supposed to be meeting her true love? Haha, honey. I looked towards Sophia awkwardly. Didn't you say your friend got dumped and needed you to stay with her tonight? Husband. She walked over and hugged me first. Then she said calmly, yeah. Willow asked me to keep her company and said she wanted to apologize to me. I went there, but she wasn't there. Her voice carried no emotion at all. What about Makoto? I asked. Confusion flashed briefly through Sophia's eyes before she remembered who I meant. What happened to him? I fell silent. She didn't press further. Instead, she calmly hung up her coat and bag. Then she walked directly toward Willow, who had been standing there watching the drama unfold. Without warning, slap. She swung her hand and slapped Willow across the face. He's my fiancé now. Sophia snapped. Stop acting shameless. Willow froze in shock for a second, then slapped her back immediately, eyes reddening as she shouted. He was my husband first. My husband? You shameless bitch. You have no self-respect at all. You were born to steal other people's men. Now hold on. I really didn't like hearing that. That kinda sounded like it was targeting me too. Besides, wasn't she literally trying to do the exact same thing earlier? Come to think of it, none of us were exactly good people. My fiancé and my mistress were fighting like their lives depended on it. When I tried to step in and almost got hit by their splash damage too, the AOE was huge. Chapter 19. Well then, after thinking for a moment, I decided to learn from Makoto and throw out a dramatic line. I don't want either of you anymore. Both women froze instantly. Then they turned toward me at the exact same time. Their eyes were both red. I got startled myself. Damn, was that sentence really that lethal? Alright, hold on. I rubbed my forehead, genuinely confused. Sophia thought I still couldn't let go of Willow. Willow thought I still couldn't let go of Sophia. And I thought Sophia still couldn't let go of Makoto. I burst out laughing. This is ridiculous. What kind of melodramatic soap opera plot is this? Sophia's eyes reddened even further. Choking up slightly, she said, you were the one who flirted with me first. You have to take responsibility for me. Husband, don't abandon me. Willow complained tearfully. We were literally just one step away. Just one step. And then this shameless woman stole my place. Even now, she still couldn't get over Sophia stealing me away from her. He liked me first. He got together with me first. My head started hurting. Finally, I sighed and said, how about this? We all split up completely. Cut ties cleanly. That way nobody owes anyone anything anymore. No. The two of them shouted simultaneously. Then they exchanged a glance, and somehow moved off to the side together, lowering their voices to discuss something. What the hell was happening now? 5 minutes later, they walked back over and sat down across from me. Then they informed me of their final conclusion. One would be the main wife, one would be the side lover, and they would switch roles every 3 years. I stared at them in complete shock. George, you've really made it in life. Being a scumbag at this level, you're basically a role model for the entire profession. But then another problem arose. Who would go first? And naturally, they started arguing again. Leaning back lazily against the sofa, I crossed my legs and said, finished arguing? Both of them instantly fell silent and looked at me. I continued calmly, good. Then listen to me. I raised one finger. First, I don't accept a rotation system. George, do not run relationships using duty schedules. Their expressions immediately changed. Then I raised a second finger. Second, I'm not choosing either one of you. Sophia panicked immediately. Husband, At the exact same time, Willow called out, "George." I raised my hand and cut them both off. Third, I stood up, walked in front of them, and looked down at them from above. "From this moment on, you both belong to me." They froze. I continued word by word. "No titles, no guarantees, no promises. Any objections?" "No objections." The two of them answered one after the other. "Very good." I nodded with satisfaction. "You trashed my house. Clean it up. Whoever performs better tonight gets to stay over." After saying that, I turned around and walked back toward the bedroom. But before long, the sound of them arguing outside started again, bickering endlessly over tiny little things. Forget it. I closed my eyes and ignored them. As the one benefiting the most from all of this, it was probably best for me to stay silent.